अस्सलाम वालेकुम रहमतुल्लाह। औज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। मा कान अल्लाहु लियज़रल मुमिनीना अला मा अंतुम अलैहि हत्ता यमीज़ल खबीसा मिनत तय्यिब व मा कान अल्लाहु लियुत्लिअकुम अलल गैबि वलाकिन्नल्लाह यज्तबी मिर रुसुलिहि मन यशाअ फ़आमिनू बिल्लाहि व रुसुलिहि व इन तुमिनू व तत्तक़ू फलकुम अज्रुन अज़ीम। वला यहसबन्नल्लज़ीना यबख़लूना बिमा आताहुमुल्लाहु मिन फ़ज़लिहि हुव खैरन लहुम बिमा आताहुमुल्लाहु मिन फ़ज़लिहि हुव खैरन लहुम बल हुव शर्रुन लहुम सयुतव्वक़ूना मा बख़िलू बिही यौमल क़ियामह वलिल्लाहि मीरासुस समावाति वल अर्द वल्लाहु बिमा तअमलूना ख़बीर। लक़द समिअ अल्लाहु क़ौलल्लज़ीना क़ालू इन्नल्लाहा फ़क़ीरुन व नहनु अग़निया या फ़नहनु है फ़े ही है ना, वो अलग करके वाव से शुबह पढ़ रहा था इसलिए मैं दोबारा अटका हूँ उस पर। लक़द समिअ अल्लाहु क़ौलल्लज़ीना क़ालू इन्नल्लाहा फ़क़ीरुन वाह फ़नहनु हो ही नहीं सकता, नामुमकिन है। वनहनु है, हाँ फ़े बना दिए खामखा, वो नून को फ़े की तरह लिख दिया है इसलिए शुबह पढ़ता था, वाह के बाद फ़ा हो ही नहीं सकता। अच्छा दोबारा पढ़ता हूँ। लक़द समिअ अल्लाहु क़ौलल्लज़ीना क़ालू इन्नल्लाहा फ़क़ीरुन व नहनु अग़निया सनक्तुबु मा क़ालू व क़त्लहुमुल अंबिया बिग़ैरि हक़्क़िन व नक़ूलु ज़ूक़ू अज़ाबल हरीक़ ज़ालिक बिमा क़द्दमत ऐदीकुम व अन्नल्लाहा लैसा बिज़ल्लामिल लिल अबीद। जो पहला दर्स चल रहा था वो आयत 180
The verse that we were having previously was that of 180, verse 180 of chapter 3, and with respect to that there are a few things that are left which Huzur says that I'll discuss today, but Huzur wishes to speak about that later, but first he wants to take up the issue of the earthquake in Japan, in Kobe. Huzur is saying that there is a lot more than what is being reported in news. The Ahmadiyyas that are telling us as reports that informs us that many people are spending their time in a very destitute way, and Allah has granted the Jamaats the ability to work, serve them, and although they are only a small group, but they are serving more than others, other groups, and they've been mentioned in international media and television, etc. And there is a lot of people are appreciating what they're doing, and they've also prepared hot food for people. They are the only ones who have done so, and tea is also continuously available to them, and those people who are desperate for some hot water, hot tea, so they come from other camps here to have some. And now they've started a new style of rice and lentils, which are our traditional style, and a lot of people and the people are coming and they love it, and other agencies have got cold meals, and people the Ahmadis are providing this hot food and people are loving that, and Huzur is saying that we told them that because you have not much financial finances available, so we will help you internationally. And the other organizations, some of them have by themselves, without us telling them, they have sent their things to us. They say that one day they were sitting down and suddenly they realized that on that day they had nothing, and people had to come and they were praying that how are we going to spend today, how are we going to serve people today. So then a truck came, a van came, and we found out that the governor of the place had a lot of items which they wanted to distribute, and they thought that the best people who can distribute it are these people, that is the Ahmadis. So he gave them a responsibility to us, and all kinds of requirements were in it, especially food, etc. So Allah is thus fulfilling their needs, and we are in contact with them as well. Huzur is saying that their names are not before me at the moment, so those people who have worked very hard and relentlessly, we will I'll be mentioning their names. Huzur is saying that pray that people are saved from these problems. Huzur is saying that the reason why Allah this happened was, which is the Prophet ﷺ told us, was that people should turn towards religion. So Huzur is saying, when I'm asking people to pray, it's not because of some physical reasons only. It appears that there is an attention towards the Jamaat, towards the religion, and people have come to us for guidance with religion, and they're asking us, what kind of Muslims are you, what kind of religion do you have, so that which enable you to serve and serve people like in this way. And then they're being interviewed in television, radios, and at the moment Dish Antenna is available there right now. They must be listening and hearing this, listening to this and watching this. And a lot of Japanese people have also come and joined in our camps, and they say that they enjoy doing serving with us. May Allah sort out their problems, and may Allah help them from unknown places, and this may be a source of their awakening. We're saying that this has brought the possibility that a very strong Japanese Jamaat may be formed, inshallah. So we're saying that now I wish to turn towards those parts of this verse which were still left to discuss. We're saying that we have spoken in quite a bit of detail, but there is one thing which is also saying that I wish to present, that Mir Ahmad Ali Sahib, as per his habit, he does not let go of any chance where he can say anything, where he has a chance to say anything against Abu Bakr Anhu, and he always try to benefit from it. And Huzur is saying that he has found some things in our commentaries, and he's trying to use them, and people have sometimes put together such reports and commentaries, and which are completely false, and so sometimes they are accumulated hundreds of years later on. So this reference that Mir Ahmad Ali refers to, that is with this verse, with reference to this verse, that Allah Allah says that that Allah chooses from His prophets whomsoever He pleases. He's saying that when this happens, then as to who was hypocrites and who was not, then Allah told the Holy Prophet ﷺ about the hypocrites of till the day of judgment, and they had it was all of the things that were in people's minds. They were being responded to. Whatever was hidden by people, it would be made known. So, saying, with this background, listen to his commentary. He says, the Holy Prophet announced that he knew every true believer from the non-believer to the day of judgment. That until the day of judgment he knew completely. The hypocrites ridiculed the claim of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, say that he could not know their hidden thoughts about himself and his faith. The Holy Prophet, being informed of this remark of the hypocrites, mounted the pulpit and recited this revelation, saying that he would tell anything they asked as to what would happen up to the end of the world. A man of unknown audience asked to say about his parentage, which none knew. The Holy Prophet gave it out. Then Umar rose up and said, O Prophet of God, agree to Allah being our God, Islam to be our religion, Quran to be our guide, and thee to be our Prophet, then forgive us, God forgive thee. Hazur is saying that I'll tell you what he's trying to say. Then he continues, the Prophet came down from the pulpit saying, will you then desist? Hazur is saying that these references, such rubbish which have found their way into our commentaries, they are in Sunni commentaries, and they have given a chance to the Shiites, and no one has thought that such things are never found in any religion with reference to prophethood. These are just made up stories which speak of their falsehood in themselves, but because he's had a chance to mock at Umar Zanho, so he has obviously taken that chance, tried to use it. So he's saying that when the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that he knew every true believer from the non-believer to the day of judgment, that every hypocrite he knew from the disbeliever till the day of judgment, and none was hidden from him. Saying that the hypocrites who they mocked the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and they say that he don't know what's hidden in our hearts about you, and he's saying that he knows about every hypocrite until the day of judgment. When the Holy Prophet ﷺ found out about this, when he was informed of this, is very interesting subject. Interesting matter is saying that if he knew about everything else until to the day of judgment, and yet he had to be informed of this, he didn't know about this. So it is as if they agreed that the Holy Prophet ﷺ did not know. So Huzur is saying that such reports speak their falsehood is contained within them. And when they were told, he mounted the pulpit. He didn't know by himself what had happened, and once he was in the pulpit, he announced that I know everything until the day of judgment, that I'm ready, you could test me on this. One man stood up whose origin was unknown. He was probably the person who is revealing this, because no one knows of his origin either. He says, okay, tell me the name of my father and my grandfather, and Holy Prophet ﷺ told them immediately, although no one knows, no one knew who he was or what his origin was, and he said, yes, that's correct. And then Umar Zanho became doubtful. He then Umar Zanho was afraid that his reality would also be known, So Imran who stood up and he said that I'm renewing my faith, so this is some extra faith that he was confessing to, and I accept everything. The Holy Prophet ﷺ did not accept it just like that. He said, will you then desist? That will you forego what you're doing or not? فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُمْتَهُونَ. This, he read this part of the verse, that now tell me, are you going to desist or not? This is their commentaries and this is the state of their reports, and they completely mar the face of the verses of the Holy Quran, and they have made up, fabricated all these references, and they have not only given the Shiites the chance to mock at Islam, they have also given the non-Muslims a chance to mock at Islam. So, and they are completely false, because their falsehood is evident in themselves, and the people who are the transgressors, who are outside Islam, and their situation is beyond anything. Only Allah can sort them out. I'll give you one example as to how they intentionally made false translations, and those things that they have tried to discern from this, they try to make it look even worse. And the same thing has been written by George Sale, which is also agreed by Very. He says, God chooseth, but God chooseth such of his apostles as he pleaseth. This passage was revealed on the rebellious and disobedient Muhammadans, telling Muhammad that if he was a true prophet, he could easily distinguish those who truly believed from the dissemblers. Al-Badawi. He says that this is proven from Badawi, and he doesn't go into what kind of report it is in Badawi. He says that it is said in Badawi that this verse that was revealed, this was about the rebellious and those disobedient Muslims who had raised their head in rebellion against the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and they said that if he was a true prophet, that is, he denied his truth completely, then very easily the people who are sincere, he could distinguish them, he could see them out of the hypocrites. So he's saying that this is proven from Bazawi. The words that are in Bazawi are Arawa Rovia. Something is being reported that this is what the disbelievers had said, and the word disbeliever, who doesn't know how to, an Orientalist who doesn't know how to translate the disbeliever, and he said that look at Bazawi, it was proven that the believers were rebellious against the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and they were trying to say these things. He's saying that imagine what is the what is the sum total of their knowledge. Very adds something further. He says that the translation that was published in India at some point, and also he wrote notes about it. About that, he says that the translator, he has thought, he has considered from this verse that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was being given the capacity to have all kinds of the knowledge of the unseen, whereas our Prophet already had no knowledge of the unseen. He said this is not correct because they had included himself in it. This is all he has written. Now the discussion as to whether this has anything to do with this discussion as to who is a believer and who isn't. Who think I explained this before as well. This got nothing to do with this subject. This is something which is of general, and is a general discussion that the real recognition of a believer is those who obey the Prophet and those who are steadfast. So those people who wish to become distinguished from others, they should believe in the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they should become close to him, because the knowledge of the unseen is taught to the prophets, and when one obeys them, then one becomes wiser, and then such good people are born out of them, who are given some news of the unseen as well. And although they don't have prevalence over the unseen, but such indications are found in them that they can be recognized from the false people, and you can discern the difference between the false people and the true people. Who are saying, in this respect, I presented this before you, that not just the Holy Prophet ﷺ, it's not just Holy Prophet ﷺ, mainly that he's mentioned that whether or not he knew or not, the Holy Quran has given a general statement. Imam Razi has also noticed this. The word Rasul says that this is a general response which is given to the commonality that is found between all the prophets. It is indicated towards, and this is something which is a continuous subject. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَجْتَبِي مِن رُسُلِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. It's a particular kind of grammar, which means that whenever Allah wants to, he can choose, he can like any one of his prophets, and then the blessing of Allah starts for them, that they have to a certain extent, they have a knowledge of the unseen, because other verses of the Holy Quran say that except none save Allah can completely know the unseen. When Allah says in the Holy Quran, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّن عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ, that no person, no matter what status he's at, he cannot encompass the unseen إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. Masha means that it is reference to that only such ascendancy is given to them over the unseen as much as Allah wants. So this ascendancy, about this Allah is saying that this scholarly prevalence is only up to a point where Allah wants to give somebody that ascendancy. So we're saying that I said that in the future as well, that in order to distinguish between the good and the evil, the prophets are required just as they were required before. And the fact is that when a lot of falsehood gets added to the truth, then a great distinction is required, and this is not possible without prophethood. And if a prophet is present and then people have abandoned him, and while the prophet is there, and this would happens that the state should become that masajiduhum amiratum kharabun min al-huda, then a huge destruction. And in such a situation, how will someone distinguish between the truth and falsehood? The treatment of this is, Holy Quran says, is through prophethood, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ has also said the same, that whenever such destruction is mentioned from the heavens, people who are the guides from Allah come, whether you call him Mahdi or Masih Maud, but he is the one who receives the news of the unseen from Allah, and as a result of that, again, the true believers start to increase, and the hypocrites began to decrease. This subject has been with respect to this The subject, another report has been told to us by those Muhammad Shahid Sahib, who was just Arabic of that particular reference, that Allah, the translation is that Allah has not given you the capacity to have prevalence over the unknown, so that you may be able to recognize the hypocrite from the others. But Allah chooses He chooses those of His prophets whom He pleases, and He gives them the news, just as Allah taught the Holy Prophet ﷺ about the unknown, unseen. So this is a continuous subject which can be proven true in the future as well. And with this reference to this, those Muhammad Shahid Sahib has sent this reference from Rabbah, who's saying that's it. Now the next verse, وَلَا يَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ يَبْخَلُونَ بِمَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ مِنْ خَيْرٍ لَهُمْ. And those people who and let not those who are niggardly with respect to what Allah has given them of His bounty about them. Those people who are niggardly, they should never think بما آتاهم الله من فضله هو خير لهم, that the bounty that Allah has given me better than others, هو خير لهم, that are better for them. Here the words خير لهم is a question as to who it's applying to, or what is the reason why it has been associated with something. Imam Razi has also taken up this subject, which is saying that I'll explain to you later on, and I'll explain to you my understanding as well. The fact of the matter is that it is evil for them. It's the same subject of respite, that when somebody is granted respite, is given to them in that they can reach their limit of how much evil they can commit, and then Allah seizes them. So if people who are mischievous and they're living a good life, they should not think that they are successful and they will not be caught, and neither should the people who are seeing it. Let not they imagine that Allah is not saying anything to them. Allah is letting them go free. بل هو شر لهم سيطوقون ما بخلوا به يوم القيامة. So their punishment is being exceeded to the day of judgment. Those people who, when it is taken to the day of judgment, it means that eventually everything is going to return to Allah and they cannot escape that, and whatever niggardliness they have committed, that will become a collar around their necks. And this is the commentary translation which a lot of commentators have preferred, but some disagree with this. وَلِلَّهِ مِيرَاثُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, and the heritage of the heavens and the earth belongs to Allah. So this refers to everything returning to Allah in terms of the heritage. That how is Allah the heritage? This is also commentators have taken up this subject, saying I'll expound on my views on this as well. Wallahu bima ta'maluna khabir, and Allah is well aware of what you do. This is chapter 3, Surah Aale-Imraan, verse 181. يبخلون, to something that one, sorry, Huzur is saying that one of the translations of this word bukhl and Mufradat al-Arab has presented this, that a treasure should be stopped from where it should be spent properly. This is called bukhl or niggardliness, that everything has a way of being spent, an appropriate place of its being spent. So those people who stop it from there, they are called bakhil or niggardly. They say that the word bakhil is used and bakhil as well, but bakhil is he who does commits a lot of niggardliness, and bakhil is somebody who does a little bit. And he says that there are two types of bukhl. One is that one stops the things that one has and does not spend it where it's meant to be spent, and he doesn't permit, he also stop other people from committing niggardliness. And it says in the Holy Quran that people who are niggardly themselves and teach other people niggardliness as well. Bukhl is also a longing. When Allah says in the Holy Quran, الَّذِينَ يَبْخُلُونَ وَيَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبُخْلِ, it has been given the meaning of envy and desire. We're saying that there can be no niggardliness except through envy and longing. About miras, the discussion is al-irthu means for something to go out of the mastery of one person and go into the mastery of another, and it is in the same way the money that is given to someone as inheritors when somebody dies is also the same. The word irus miras is used, and also that those things that are acquired without any hard work is also called warithu kaffa. And when something is given to someone, something good as a present, then it's called urisu wa tilkul jannatu allati uristumuha, that this is the heaven of which you have been made heirs. That means it has been granted to you as a gift. وَتَأْكُلُونَ التُّرَاثَ أَكْلًا لَمَّا, the Holy Quran says it means that whatever heritage you take, you eat it well, and you gather it. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, who was reading the Arabic, that you should stay upon your wherever you are, and you are at your father's heritage. So here is means what is remains behind. Allah has called himself waris, that just like it said in the Holy Quran, Wallahu mirathu samawati wal ard. For Allah indeed, to Allah indeed belongs the heritage of the earth and the heavens. Saytawaquna is the collar that is put around the neck. Anything that surrounds someone is called tawq. Raghib has said that tawq refers to such a is a collar that is found in the neck naturally. If you look in everyone's, if you feel your neck, you say that there is a bone around your neck which is which is called a collarbone, and also an apparent collar is also called tawq. And usually this word refers to something punishment. So if a lady wears a necklace, that's not called a tawq. But if someone a noose is put in somebody's neck which is made of metal or something, then he can't bow his head, and his head remains straight, upright, and this is a source of an indication of humiliation. So this is a collar which is put around the neck to imprison someone or to humiliate them. Ibn Abbas says that from with the word bukhl, it means to hide the prophecy about the Holy Prophet ﷺ in the Bible, and the Jews used to hide the prophecies that were in the Bible about the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and it refers to that bakhilu bil kitabi, that they are niggardly with respect to the book. Abdullah relates in Tirmizi this tradition that the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, the one who does not give zakat of his wealth, and Allah will wrap a snake around his neck. He was saying, I've taken this because it's ma bakhlu bihi, where the snake is mentioned why is this mentioned in the traditions? Whatever punishments are shown to be in the hereafter are in the metaphor, and in this life our thoughts the associations with certain thoughts, with some associations that we have in life, when you associate one thing with something else. So if something happens and you think of another thing, so as far as snake is concerned, when you think of a snake, then other such stories are come to the front. So and to sit on a treasure is a special quality of a snake. Wherever you read about treasures, and you will hear the mention of pythons, etc., sitting next to it, and this is not associated just with Arabic traditions, it's with international traditions. You also found this in the stories, certain stories of India, that you find mention of pythons protecting treasures. So it doesn't belong to the snake, so it's not his, but he takes it over. So the one who stops what Allah gives him from people, then it's not his, because it should have been spent the way Allah wanted it to spend. So he is sitting on it like a snake. So this is a metaphor which shall be an example of this is given to us, so that person's reality of his actions becomes evident on the Day of Judgment. And this is not difficult for anyone to understand, because these things are normally associated with such things, but the commentators have given this the apparent meaning, and with great detail they have said how there will be a snake, and some have not just made a snake hanging from the neck alone. They say that there are snakes hanging from everywhere, and such strange ideas which are only found in stories are associated about hell. Hell and heaven are not something that we can imagine. To hate the hell, we are given certain examples, and also to love heaven, we are given certain other examples. So Allah is saying that you cannot imagine what will happen, what will be like. And the Holy Prophet ﷺ has also made it clear that no one knows what is yet to come. The Holy Quran says that no one knows what soothness for the eyes has been hidden for them, has been kept as a surprise for them on the Day of Judgment in heaven. So when Allah is saying this, and he's also saying that you don't understand. So these two statements make it clear that Allah has given metaphors. So when people mention the snake, then it doesn't mean an actual snake like the commentators usually associate with with this. It's a metaphor to enable us to understand the situation in hell. Some commentators have not taken this literally at all. By the grace of God, there are some very intelligent people who all of whom there's been a wave of intelligence and light that suddenly they, despite seeing darkness, they suddenly have a light glowing in their minds, just like a brain wave. So this light of wisdom sometimes flashes in their eyes, in their minds, and it is seen in some people. In some commentators, is seen more than others. Mujahid is also very intelligent. He says that yutawakun meaning is not correct to take it in literal sense. This is a Arabic phrase for anything to very hard to something else. This is how the Arabs express it. That if somebody clings to something and does not leave it, then that's what it is. That means that their punishment will not leave them; it will cling to them, and they will not be able to throw it off. And it's in the same way, it is also said, who is reading some Arabic, that qalada is something which is wrapped around the neck. He said this is the same as when people say that I have put this matter like a collar around your neck, but that nobody imagines that it's like an actual collar. People take it to mean that it has become an obligation for some person to fulfill that task that's been given to him. And other examples given in the Holy Quran are, I'm just saying that all of these references and all of these things, they have been taken from the Tafsir Kabir Razi, and this is his particular special style. He says, كل إنسان ألزمناه طائره في عنقه. So here as well, he's saying that around his neck, this is in the Holy Quran, so a bird to be tied or be hanging from one's neck is a metaphor again, and it needs to be understood with the wisdom that's contained within it, and the literal meaning should not be given to such phrases. He also indicates toward another tradition that those people who cover the truth and do not express it with their tongue, on the Day of Judgment, there will be rains of fire will be put in their mouths. So this means that whichever part of the body is used in the wrong way, that will be worthy of being punished, and every punishment that is to do with a particular part of the body to express that. The similar kind of example is shown. A neck represents responsibility, so this is the relationship between the two. The tongue is to explain things and to make things clear, and not to utter falsehood. So if the tongue commits that, then it's given the punishment, and it is a rains of fire is given to them. So if somebody has stopped their tongue, then from uttering the truth, then the fire shall be put on their tongues. So this rains of fire, word for word, accepting it word for word is not appropriate. The reason for this is that the Holy Quran tells us that the way that these people shall be raised, or you shall be raised, you have no idea about that. You cannot imagine even in the slightest as to in what form you shall be raised again. So if you do not have this comprehension, then you can't imagine how the basic thing is that those the horrific results of those crimes we are being told, and we are told that every sin has a appropriate punishment, and however people receive their punishment. If you want to give an example of it in this world, then you can say that it's as if somebody has been given a so there's a like punishment. Just as we were saying, that sometimes cancer also sometimes that is also a similar kind of punishment. Sometimes some people have it accidentally, and sometimes it's due to something people have done wrong. And people who are involved in such illnesses, they say that it seems as if they are on fire, and the fire is eating them up. And this fire is the same of the spiritual experience of the fire, and not an apparent fire which people think. Imam Razi takes this in the same meaning. He said this tradition that should be asked a question, and if somebody doesn't speak what he's supposed to say, then the rains of fire should be put in his mouth, according to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In discussing the heritage, وَلِلَّهِ مِيرَاثُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, Tafsir al-Qasmi has given this reference, that to Allah belongs the heritage of the heavens and the earth. وَأَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا جَعَلَكُمْ مُسْتَخْلَفِينَ فِيهِ. So this is the heavens and the earth shall be combined together, and Allah shall, all the heritage shall return to Allah. So we're saying this to annihilate something and then for it to go to Allah, this is not acceptable, because in this world as well the mastery belongs to Allah, and it is only with Allah's will that one can take advantage of a mastery. So we don't even if we have mastery over something, we don't have it's our capacities are also due to Allah. So if Allah only because Allah wants it back, this is why Allah will kill everyone. This is unacceptable. Allah still remains a master in this world, and he goes on giving examples of his mastery, and whether he kills or doesn't kill. And for man there is for Allah there is all mastery. It doesn't say that it will only be on the day of judgment. Wherever Malik or Malakut is mentioned, then every such juncture Allah is regarded as the final or everlasting master, and the other people are given just given temporary mastery, and they will lose even that on the day of judgment. So on that day they shall not be master of anything. This is what is meant, because even when they were temporarily masters of something, even then it belonged to Allah. So in this light, I was saying that I have to we have to then decide as to what heritage means. The fact is that Hazur is saying that his is born out of the right of mastery, and this is the whole subject is that it goes the one who should be the master is what is meant. This is what decides who is going to be the rightful heir. The Holy Quran has told us the basic principle that the person who was dependent, somebody is dependent, and upon whom somebody's original responsibility was, he is the biggest heir, and the one upon whose responsibility was slightly less, then they are heirs to a lesser degree, and the ones with whom good conduct was instructed about them, Allah is saying that you should treat them well and give it to them, leave it to them, and those people who were close to them for the reason because they were poor and they had to be taken care of. So in the same proportion they were also given a part of the inheritance. So such portions were kept in the inheritance, that if there are such circumstances and such people are there, then those the inheritance should be taken from those compartments and given to them. So this is what the heritage is. Inheritance is all about. So in what sense is Allah's heritage? It is in this sense that all mastery belongs to Allah. So wherever the mastery departs, it returns to Allah, because it was His to start with. But as soon as it departs, if there's a being who by himself he is automatically becoming the master, then that is Allah. So everything that decays or comes to an end goes to Allah, and the same is a subject which is in the words Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, that we came from Allah, we had nothing of our own. So the one who is not master of his own self, what is the sense in killing him and snatching away his inheritance? Even while he's alive, he is not even master of his own self. Therefore, the Holy Prophet, the Prophet says that everything that we have is due to you. We did not bring anything from our home. Everything that I have, my life, my children, everything is yours. We didn't bring anything from ourselves. So this is point towards the final propriety of Allah, that you are the temporary proprietors, but the real inheritor is Allah, because He is the real master and proprietor. And this is enough, sufficient to say this much about the subject. No need to discuss anything, say anything else about that. Huzur is saying that some people regard niggardliness, just as Suddi has also discussed, and also Ibn Abbas. Two separate groups have been formed. Some people, like Suddi, say that here niggardliness in the cause of Allah and spending in the cause of Allah is meant, and this is how we should regard it to mean. And Ibn Abbas and Ibn Atiyah, Mujahid ibn Jurad, and other people think that the people of the book are being mentioned, and there was no expectation of any good from them. So it would be wrong to translate it to mean apparent wealth, because their niggardliness was not in apparent wealth, but in the word of Allah, which speaks in which when they are niggardly as regards to the word of Allah. So both these meanings are possible here, because the discussion in this verse is not just about the people of the book and the disbelievers, it's also speaking of a society which also contains believers and hypocrites. So even if some of them are hypocrites, they will still regard themselves within that a circle from whom this demand is being made, and when they are niggardly, then their niggardliness used to disclose their reality. So the first subject of them becoming evident continues here, where it says, what it means is that how can people ask as to how one can tell the difference between hypocrites and non-hypocrites. We do not need to know any have any news of the unknown. They have their own indications and their own proofs, and one of them is that they are very niggardly in spending in the cause of Allah, and one knows very clearly as to who is niggardly and who isn't, and for this there is no need for any knowledge of the unseen or unknown. So therefore this verse applies to that Islamic society which included some hypocrites, and if it also refers to, if it's taken to mean, just as Ibn Abbas has taken, that the previous book and their niggardliness of knowledge is concerned, if that's meant, that this could also be correct, it's a meaning that need not be rejected. Those people who think that talk or the collar is some people say that this means yutawaquna, that they'll be clothed in collars. This there is a possibility of it being translated from Arabic that the collar was put around them. It has a meaning of power. So they will definitely they will be vanquished and overwhelmed with a more powerful power. He's saying that there is no, this is something which is found in Arabic usage, that to defeat someone, to trounce someone with power, so they will be compelled, a punishment shall be compelled upon them, they shall be made to most certainly taste punishment. As we were saying that we've spoken of the snake, and also from one thing we spoke about another thing, and there is the Shiite commentator who writes that the book Kafi of Shiite commentary, Imam Muhammad Baqir and Imam Jafar Sadiq says that the person who is responsible for taking care of the wealth of zakat, then that will be he doesn't spend it properly, then that part of that will be turned into a snake, which will be around his neck, and it will keep on eating at his flesh. So they have taken this flesh person of flesh in the Day of Judgment. Huzur is saying that what will the snake be doing there? So the answer to that is that the snake will be eating their flesh, and this has been proven from this word, these words of Allah, that that on the Day of Judgment Allah will put the collars around their necks. So they say that this is proven, that there will be snakes hanging from them which will be devouring them. A definition of Bakhil which Ali Anhu has done is that a niggardly person, although he is wealthy, he lives like a poor man, and then on the day of judgment he will be taken to book as if he was a wealthy person. So in this world, although he's an owner of wealth, but he's extremely destitute, and he doesn't take any advantage from the wealth, and he's living like a poor destitute person. But when the time of taking account comes, then Allah will bring him to book as a wealthy man. As we were saying, this is a very beautiful meaning, and this is why I have chosen this to present before you.
एक हदीस का जिक्र भी किया गया है।
A tradition is also mentioned from which we can ascertain that as long as a wealthy man remained alive, he stopped himself from spending his wealth in the cause of good, and he remained niggardly. But sometimes his children who get the inheritance, they spend it on a good, on something good. So the first person who was the master, he was denied the blessings of the faith, of the wealth, but the people who are his inheritors, they go further ahead, they progress in righteousness, and they are able to take advantage from that wealth by spending it in the cause of Allah.
बाकी तो सब पहली बातों की दोहराई हो रही है, इसलिए मैं इनको छोड़ रहा हूँ.
The rest is a repeat of the previous things, so they're saying I'm leaving them.
ये Montgomery Watt ये समझते हैं,
Montgomery Watt thinks that probably not a general statement, but having particular reference to those who failed to contribute before Uhud. So he's saying that when it was mentioned that a Jew was asked and he refused, all of these discussions which are rubbish, Montgomery Watt is actually saying that this is wrong. The Holy Quran mentions those people and the sacrifice that was people were instructed to do before the Battle of Uhud, and those people who were niggardly with respect to that, they are being mentioned. With reference to Baydawi and Jalaluddin, etc., George Sale has also got a chance to mock, and he mockingly discusses the good references about the snake. Very has taken up the same subject, but using what I have said to you, I'm going to explain. This was beyond his reach. If he looks at it superficially, then if we look at the Bible superficially, then it will become a book of mockery. In the same, this is what the Bible has also. The commentators of the Bible have also done the same to the Bible as some of our commentators have done to the Holy Quran. That is, they mocked it.
ये अजीब-ओ-गरीब बातें फर्जी कहानियां बनाने के आदी हैं मुस्तशरिकीन.
These Orientalists were saying that are used to creating their own stories. Richard Bell comments on this verse and says that those people who are niggardly with respect to spending in the cause of Allah, he agrees that, like Montgomery Watt, that it means the incidents that occurred before Uhud, but then he also says perhaps it also refers to some reluctance on the part of the Muslims to support what seemed as a losing cause. He was saying that he's making up a story that after Uhud the Muslims stopped giving because they thought it was a losing cause, whereas the expression of faith and the expression of certainty as was found in Uhud is not found anywhere else. How those poor injured people combined together and answered the call once again and went after the powerful enemy who had hurt them. They went to chase them and go so far that there was nowhere to run from there. Even if they wanted to run, they couldn't have run. And about such people to say that they they thought it was a losing cause and they went back. This is extremely ignorant. Let's read this verse once again. وَلَا يَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ يَبْخَلُونَ بِمَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ هُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُمْ. وَلَا يَحْسَبَنَّ, Hazur saying that I've said that I was saying that it has a relationship with khair. And what is that relationship? Because here خَيْرٌ لَهُمْ, it should be خَيْرٌ لَهُمْ. Apparently, لا يحسبن الذين يبخلون بما آتاهم الله من فضله. It should be خير لهم. He said, we were saying that why? Because huwa is like news, and Huzur is using some grammatical words, terminology. Huzur is saying that what I regard this to mean, let me explain to you that the commentators have said that la yahsabannahum is the acting verb of this. But I think that sometimes the word yakunu is mentioned. The meaning of the word yakunu is there, but it is not mentioned, it's silent, or it's not there. So the difference between khabar and noun is that there are two types of sentences. One is that a verb which contains a verb, like for example, someone hit someone, and another is a sentence which is a noun sentence, which is example of which is that this is better for you. And if it is khairun lakum, then this. If you say that that will be better for you, or it shall be better for you, then it will become a verb sentence. But if sometimes the people think that if it's a verb sentence, but the kana yakunu is being taken out, then it would originally have been a verb sentence, but so it should be yakunu huwa sharrul lahum. So Huzur is saying that yakunu, Huzur is saying that the principle is that if a word is not there, or in that case the noun and the khabar are both Huzur is saying that a lot of people will not understand this grammar. Sometimes people who are quite scholarly don't understand this as well, and they turn towards books. But Huzur is saying that I want to try to make you understand by telling you it simply that usually these khabar and ism means noun. If we recognize it in this way, that if you put a inflection of pesh on something, then that would make it to a rafa. So when we say Zaidun, then you would say that Zaid is the marfu, or Bakrun, then Bakr is marfu. And if it's mafru, then the noun, the first term also has rafa, it has an inflection at the top, and the other has also got an inflection at the top. So in ordinary noun sentences there is ism and khabar marfu, and this is an example huwa sharrul lahum, that is evil for them. So huwa is the ism, and so and they both huwa and shar are marfu, but sometimes if on a noun some other words affected or some defective words or inflections affected, then ism, a noun and khabar, they turn it in a different direction, which in order to show that what has an effect on what. Like when you say inna allaha khabirun bima ta'malun, if there was no inna, then we would say in allahu khabirun bima ta'malun, Allah knows whatever you do. Here the word is Allahu, and the pesh that you see here, this is this displays rafa, so it has a verb and a victory, and maf'ul is the one which is defeated, and this is being expressed as a nasab, and usually nasab is expressed as a zabar inflection at the top, and what is the indication of victory? It's pesh. So ordinarily one says Allahu ala kulli shay'in qadir, Allahu khabir, Allahu alim. So both have rafa on it, but when the word inna or certain other words come before it, then it makes some changes to it. The first ism, noun becomes mansoob, and khabar, which is to come afterwards, that remains marfu. Inna allaha ala kulli shay'in qadir. This is to show that this subject of inna, that verily or certainly, this has to do with the first word, which will now become ism, and then the khabar will remain marfu. It is nothing to do with this. So what it means is it is Allah who knows. So in order to put emphasis on it, on a particular word, then they would usually something with it will be rafa, but they make it mansu in order to make it have emphasis on it. We're saying the other words as well, such as anna, which have the same effect, and in this noun sentence it puts nasab on those sentences, and also there are some kana and other words. I think it's and that is also a defective, supposed to be called a defective word, because it is a verb which is defective, and its effect is the opposite. It takes its noun, it instead of it does the other thing. It does the opposite of inna. So Huzur is saying that this is a very distinct difference between kana and inna. So when you see that, then you could you can change the inflection to zabar or pesh. So this was the discussion was huwa khairan lahum. There is no kana before this. Huwa is a noun from which this begins. Why is it khairan lahum? It should have been khairun lahum. And losing them, try to make you understand that I think that the kana there is hidden, and yakunu is meant. Kana yakunu, and if you regard that as being hidden, then it becomes completely clear that those people who are niggardly in the cause of Allah, then they should not think that this is going to be better for them. This is a prophecy. Huwa yakunu khairan lahum, because at that time it seems good for them. This is why this discussion is not raised by removing one letter, the indications that are on it, the inflections, this transfers the subject to the future, and it means that eventually they will definitely see their evil end. So if temporarily, they shouldn't be boastful, and it is not as they think it is. It will definitely have an evil result, and it will be proven to them that it wasn't good for them, and so the past will also be evident from the future, and then after that the present is we return to the present when Allah says bal huwa sharrul lahum, indeed it is, in fact it is evil for them. So the end will prove that it was bad for them. They're saying, do you understand or not? They're saying that Dr. Saab is shaking his head, nodding his head, but there are other people who are who etc. who do not understand. So he's saying that if I am correct, then it would be huwa yakunu khairan lahum, that they should not think, those foolish people, that their being niggardly in the cause of Allah can be proven to be good for them. They should not think this at all. It should not be good for them, and that which is not eventually does not eventually become good, bal huwa sharrul lakum, then that is evil for them, and they don't understand that it is evil. That thing whose end is bad, that is bad, and it was always bad. And then again you say sayatawaquna, we're going towards the future. Ma bakhalu bihi yawm al-qiyamah, whatever niggardliness they do, that will cling to them on the day of judgment and will not leave them. How will it cling and how will it not leave them? About this, other verse of the Holy Quran are shedding very clear light, and Allah will be saying to them that tell us which wealth was it, but they will not be able to give any ransom because they will no longer have it, and they will be separated from all their wealths, and the rights will still remain, and they'll be asked about these rights which they haven't fulfilled. So because these are mentioned in detail about in the Holy Quran, so you should try to understand it with reference to those verses, that on the day of judgment that will become their collar. So it's not the reward that's mentioned or the end that's mentioned. It means that it will not leave them until it proves that they are criminals. وَلِلَّهِ مِيرَاثُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And the same subject will say is being made clear here, that they will not have anything to give anymore, because everything will belong to Allah and would have returned to Allah. So then Allah will say to them, okay, bring us the money now that you are supposed to give. They will not be able to present anything, so this question will not leave them, and it will turn them to criminals. Wallahu bima ta'maluna khabir. And whatever actions you do, Allah is aware of the reality, and whatever effects you see of those actions, afterwards Allah has them in His view as well. We're saying that our voice has reached Japan, and we have received news, and we have Ziaullah Sahib Mubashir has said that the message that we gave about Kobe on MTA, we heard it in our camp in Kobe, and Amir Sahib Japan is in the camp as well today. May Allah enable us to serve mankind even more, and may we be able to win the hearts of the Japanese people. We think that first you have to win their stomachs, and then their hearts will be won, inshallah. And just as you win their stomachs, no one else can, because you feed them with love, like a mother feeds her children. So you have won her hearts, but the question is, how are you going to do tasks, and when I heard about the lentils and rice, Zuru saying that I told them that this is what you should emphasize. It's very easy to cook, and when we were in the langar, whenever we were difficulty, we used to sometimes sometimes the bread used to finish, the chapatis used to finish, and we used to keep on cooking. We used to keep cooking rice and lentils, and they would be very quickly. They would be prepared, ready for them. You can make it very thin as well. The lentils. Zuri is saying that you should let the Japanese have a little bit of spices as well. Zuri is saying that I don't know whether they have big dishes, pots there or not, but you should make rice for them, and also thin lentils, and sometimes put some fragrance of fish in it. This can send me an estimate of the cost. They're saying that the Japanese government's preparations are so excellent, but they're saying that but people don't care about people's emotions. But as far as the organization is concerned, the Japanese people are an example. They have made telephones free from those areas to the whole world. It's a strange thing. So from here, if we call them, it will cost us money. But from Kobe, anyone can use public phones, and wherever they phone in the world, it's free. So right now we have this free communication system with them, and they should tell us on the same telephone as that how much can you increase the lentils and rice, and how much the expenses will be, and then I'll give you the permission to spend. Zuri is saying that now that the time is finished, so we should finish on this subject. This is not outside this subject of this verse. It is according to this, in accordance with this verse. The Holy Quran has not said here as to who is niggardly. Then Allah is saying that whatever Allah gives them, they are niggardly with it, and Allah does not say they are niggardly with respect to spending where or what are they spending. This is not, the details are not told to us, and it's just as it says about the believers, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, that whatever we give them, they spend out of that. Whom do they spend it on? It isn't mentioned. So actually in the word bukhl here, this is included, that to spend, they detract from spending in the appropriate manner, and because this is it should be spent in the right way, so we will not be that this verse will not apply to us. In fact, that verse will apply to us. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, that whatever Allah has given us, we are spending out of that. So inshallah the Jamaat will spend this, and this is that spending which is blessed, and this is the Kausar which never comes to an end. That is the spring in paradise. If you spend according to your as much as you have, then Allah will increase your capacities.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah.